So, what is the best cardio for fat loss? How does it work for fat loss? Well, in this video I'm going to answer all those questions, everything to do with cardio, how it works, how it's going to help with your fat loss progress, and why it might not actually be the magic bullet for fat loss as well. But first, I need to go and do some, so let's get that done now. Alright, so that's cardio done. Did 250 calories, which now, in this last week before the competition, is pretty typical. And the first myth I want to bust on cardio is that cardio does not cause fat loss in itself. Cardio is just another form of expenditure. In the same way you'd burn calories lifting weights, walking, cleaning the house, cardio is just another way you can burn some more calories. Of course, the advantage that burning calories via low intensity, steady state cardio has is that you're not going to put as much strain on your recovery. So lifting weights for cardio is obviously, in my last video, what I promote as your main focus of your exercise. If you want to complement that with some low intensity cardio, go ahead, because the fact is you're not going to get as fatigued from it. It's not going to cause as much muscle soreness, and it's easy to recover from. So that's why, kind of in a fat loss phase, you probably want to put some cardio in there just to have some more energy expenditure, expend more calories over your week, and then lose more body fat. And of course, how much cardio you want to do is going to come down to where you're at with your calories, where you're at with your available time, and if you enjoy it or not, frankly speaking. So, for example, for myself, I know people who also prepare for competitions who do a lot more cardio, but maybe they can tolerate it a bit more. Personally, I would rather eat 100 calories less per day than do an extra 100 calories of cardio. That's a personal preference. So these are some things you want to think about when you're thinking about cardio. Right, I've got to get home, just over my shoulder, and then we are going to the supermarket. I need to get some things for the competition, some things that might surprise you, so I might put that in another video. But then I'll discuss into how cardio can increase your calorie deficit. Okay, so now we know what cardio doesn't do, we can figure out how to use cardio to make it do what we want to do, which is to lose body fat or body weight. So imagine you have three identical people who all have maintenance calories of around 2,000. Person A is just doing 1,500 calories of food. So they've created a 500 calorie deficit, which doesn't have to be a 500 calorie deficit, but for the sake of this example, we'll use that. They've created a 500 calorie deficit just from eating. Okay, so they would lose technically the magic 3,500 calories per week, which would make them lose a pound a week technically. It's not always the way things go, but let's run with it. Person B can eat a little bit more and do 500 calories of cardio per day, and technically they've made that deficit of 500 calories still the same. So they're also creating a 500 calorie deficit, but they're eating a little bit more. Potentially that might mean they can fuel their workouts better, maybe they just feel better, they don't feel as hungry, so it's an option. Person C also eats 1,500 calories, but performs an extra 500 calories of cardio just like this person, actually creates a 1,000 calorie deficit. So they'll lose weight and body fat a little bit faster. So there's a few ways you can use it. Make sure you measure it in the calories burned doing the activity. A lot of people will do like 40 minutes 3 times a week or something like that. Much better actually particularly when the maths is involved, is to actually do it as an amount of calories per week, so you can factor that into your weekly deficit. So that's kind of how that would work. If you can create those little deficits, those calories burned either per day or over the week, you can factor that into your daily intake and create either a bigger deficit or eat a little bit more and have the same deficit, something like that. So that's really actually, when people are using cardio for body fat loss, that's how it's working. So The next question would be, what type of cardio is best? What type of cardio should we do? And I'll cover that in the next bit of the video. Right, so what we'll cover in the next bit is the difference between high intensity interval training and low intensity steady state cardio. Both have their applications, both can be used. To be honest, for the most part, regardless of this pros and cons, preference. If you prefer doing intervals, or if you prefer just chugging it out steady state, go with that one. The one that's gonna actually get you to do it is gonna be the one you're gonna stick to. The pros of HIIT. So some of the good things about HIIT training, you technically get an increased calorie burn per unit time. So if you're gonna do a minute at a higher intensity or a minute at a lower intensity, you're gonna burn more calories in that minute there. Obviously you might not be able to maintain that intensity forever, but per unit time, you do burn more calories. There's a caveat there, right? Also, potentially, you could build or retain a little bit more muscle through using HIIT. Particularly if you're going to do things like sled pushes and pulls, farmers carries, kind of that modified strongman training type stuff. Potentially, actually, you'll be using more motor units in your legs and your arms and stuff like that, so you might actually build or at least maintain a little bit more muscle. And those also more fun. Even just interval training on a bike or on a treadmill is more engaging mentally than just sitting on the treadmill kind of doing nothing. So that's the pros of HIIT. Let's see what the bad parts are. So the cons of HIIT training. In terms of the physique world, the cons of HIIT training really are going to come down to recovery. If you're doing bike sprints or those sled pushes and stuff like that, if the soreness in your legs after that kind of HIIT training is then affecting your workouts further down the line, that's probably going to mean you don't make as much progress or potentially lose progress further down the track of your fat loss phase than if you just did something that's a lower intensity, steady state. So the main thing when thinking about implementing HIIT is, can you recover from it? Is it affecting your recovery for exercises and training further into your week? If it is, it might not make the most sense. The other issue with HIIT is that you need to be motivated to do it. The good thing about Liss, which I'll put in the pros, but the good thing about Liss is you can kind of just go and slog it out. It doesn't really matter. You can put Netflix on, you can fire up YouTube on your phone or whatever. For HIIT, you need to be switched on, you need to be motivated, you need to be amped up, because to get the benefits, you do have to take it to that intensity. You can't just half-ass high intensity training, or you just kind of don't really get the full benefits. So you need to be motivated, but also you need to be fit. Like, to do proper HIIT training, you need to have a baseline level of fitness already there, or again, it's not quite going to give you the full bang for the buck of what HIIT's generally capable of. So in terms of thinking about which ones are right for you, can you turn that motivation on, and do you have that baseline level of fitness? If you're a beginner, I would suggest actually HIIT is not for you. You'd be better off building an aerobic base with some low intensity stuff. So, low intensity. Let's get into the pros of low intensity. Finally, pros and cons of Liss. Let's start with the pros. There's reduced fatigue. So when it comes to physique, training for body composition change and actually changing your body, reducing fatigue is going to be really important, because it's going to allow you to put 100% into your resistance training workouts. And that's going to pay huge dividends once that fat comes off, having retained all that muscle mass, yeah? It's also, quote unquote, I put it in bunny ears, easier. In that, like, this is still going to be hard. You need to get your heart rate up, you're going to get a sweat on, but it's easier than doing high intensity. You can at least grind through it somewhat and just get it done. It's also more accessible. Like, you can do low intensity steady state by just going for, you can go and walk outside, and yes, that would also count as your steps, but you could also, if you have something that can track your calories burned while you do that, you can just go and do that outside. You don't need any kind of spin bikes or treadmills or modified strongman equipment. You can just get it done in the great outdoors, which is fantastic. Then there are also some cons of Liss as well. Like, there's no gimme without a gotcha. So the first problem is you need more time. When there's more calories burned per unit time in HIIT, if you're going to do low intensity, you're probably going to need to do more time to get the same amount of calories burned. Goes without saying. But it's also kind of boring. So again, While it might be easier and you need more time, you might need some entertainment. You're going to be doing the same thing for a prolonged period of time, so it's not exactly the most fun thing in the world. I've also put that you get increased adaptation to it, like especially if you have any kind of heart rate monitor or calorie counting device that you wear while you do your cardio. You'll have noticed that the first time you go and do low intensity, your heart rate gets quite high, the calories clock up really, really fast, and you don't need so much time to do it. But further down the track, as you get fitter, as you get adapted to the stimulus, you need more time or a slightly higher intensity to get to that same heart rate, to get to that same total number of calories in the same unit time. So it's not all black and white. Both are absolutely applicable. As I say, number one priority, do which one you find the most entertaining or the most enjoyable. That's going to be the main key. After that, you can think, if you really want to optimize things and you don't mind sacrificing a bit of enjoyment, have a think about which one of these might apply to you the most. Just realized I've done that in red instead of blue. But yeah, that's cardio in a nutshell really. So yeah, don't think that you should base your program design around cardio. You should be basing your program design around resistance training, like I described in my last video. And cardio is used to just burn extra calories, to add expenditure into your program. It's not a magic tool for fat loss by itself. There's nothing special about cardio type exercises that causes more fat loss than weight training. That's not a thing. Do your weight training, track your calories, get a reasonable deficit going, and then if you want to make your deficit bigger or increase your rate of fat loss, use cardio as an expenditure tool and you can go from there. So if you found this video helpful, of course, like, share, subscribe, send it to friends, recommend it to other people, and I will catch you in the next video, which might be in Germany. Let's see.